Assalamu alaikum. This is teacher Fatima Salim from Ridwan Schools. Today we will be talking about meiosis. The objective for today is to explain the difference between mitosis and meiosis. But to answer this question, we must know where genes are located and how do they work, how do they pass information. We cannot answer those two questions actually without understanding what reproduction is. Reproduction is the process in which living things make more of their kind. Examples: cats reproduce to make more cats, and apple trees reproduce to make more apple trees. So reproduction هو تكاثر, making more of the same kind of living things. Reproduction happens in two different ways. The first one we will be talking about is asexual reproduction, which means reproduction where only one parent is needed. So there are no males, there are no females, there are just living things which may produce more of the same type. Let's see this example: starfish. Starfish is a very simple animal. It reproduces by simply making copies of itself. So a big starfish can make baby starfish which are exactly identical to it. Okay? And this is what happens in asexual reproduction. Before this happens, every cell in starfish makes a copy of itself. And before it can make a copy of itself, it has to make a copy of its DNA and every single organelle. العضيات والDNA كافة محتويات الخلية. And this is what we took in the first semester. Mitosis, الانقسام المتساوي. The parent cell will divide to make more copies of itself. So mitosis is done in most cells, in most of our body. When you bleed, لما تنزف, when you cut your skin, you need more new skin cells. So your skin cells are going through mitosis to replace the old, dead, or damaged cells. Also, the living things which reproduce this way can go through mitosis. For example, bacteria, starfish, hydra, and some types of plants as well. Now, the more complicated living things, this picture makes a simple revision of mitosis, الانقسام المتساوي, which we covered in the first semester. We begin, of course, from left to right. On your left, there's a picture of the thing that happens before mitosis, which is called interphase, الطور التمهيدي, in which the DNA is copied and all other organelles in the cell is copied as well. Of course, as you can see, we need one cell, that's it. When this cell is ready, you will start mitosis, and the first step in mitosis was called prophase. In prophase, as you can see, the DNA is divided into strands. Those strands or pieces are called chromosomes. As you remember, a chromosome is a piece of the DNA with some proteins attached to it. So you can see chromosomes which are actually copied, which are doubled in interphase, but they are separate. And you can see homologous chromosomes, الكروموسومات المتناظرة اللي هي تكون نسخة من كل كروموسوم, and every chromosome is made up of two chromatids joined together by the centromere. هذا كله معلومات الفصل الأول. Now, the second stage in mitosis is called metaphase. In metaphase, as you can see, the chromosomes line up in the middle of the cell. They stand in one line and they are attached by spindles, okay? Now, in the anaphase, they split apart and begin moving away from each other. This is the anaphase. and the cell starts to stretch, as you can see. In the telophase, we have two nuclei. Nuclea is the plural of nucleus. انت شايف نواتين. In every one of them, we have how many chromosomes? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4 in each cell. After that, we have the cytokinesis. Cytokinesis اللي هو مرحلة انقسام الخلية إلى خليتين تماما. In cytokinesis, we have the end of mitosis. We now have two separate cells, and each one of them is an exact copy of the other. So, in mitosis, we begin with one cell that has 4 chromosomes, and we end up with 2 cells. Each one of them has 4 chromosomes. So, the number of chromosomes does not change. This is very important because I want my new skin cell to be exactly the same as the old skin cell that was damaged. عشان هيك مهم الحفاظ على عدد الكروموسومات في الانقسام المتساوي. Now, the other type of reproduction, sexual reproduction, is when two parent cells join together to form the baby, the offspring, and this offspring is not an exact copy from its parents. As you can see, this happens in more complex living things. For example, monkeys, human beings, dogs, and in many plants as well. Now, in this table, I don't want you to worry. You don't have to memorize any of these numbers, except for the number of chromosomes in humans, which you already know, 46 chromosomes. Now, in every kind of living thing here, we have its own number of chromosomes. And here you can see that these are complicated living things, okay? And when they reproduce, they don't make exact copies of themselves. To make sexual reproduction happen, we need something called the sex cells. These sex cells have half the number of chromosomes. إلها نصف عدد الكروموسومات. طيب إحنا حكينا مايتوسس الانقسام المتساوي ما بعمل هيك، بنتج لي نفس عدد الكروموسومات. إذا كيف بحصل على خلايا فيها نصف عدد الكروموسومات؟ This is where we have to look at these pictures really carefully. Now, in this picture, we see the 46 chromosomes of human beings in the picture above. We have 23 pairs, remember? 46 chromosomes or 23 pairs of homologous chromosomes. Now, what you see down in the lower picture is a bigger picture of one pair of homologous chromosomes, as you can see. Each one of them is made of 2 chromatids held together by the centromere. للتذكير، الكروموسوم يرى على شكل الأكس هاد عندما تكون الخلية تحضر للانقسام. When the cell is about to divide, each chromosome is going to make a copy of itself. Therefore, I see it in this form. I see it as an X. But in most of the life of a cell, it doesn't look this way. It's just DNA. فهذا طور مؤقت في حياة الخلية, where you see this. Okay? So this is the meaning of homologous chromosomes. It's a pair of chromosomes that work together, okay, to control certain traits. للتحكم بصفات معينة. Now, to make these sex cells which we talk about, which have the half of the number of the original chromosomes, we need meiosis. Meiosis, الانقسام المنصف. It is the process that makes cells which have half the number of chromosomes. Humans, for example, we have 46 chromosomes in our cells, but those special cells, those sex cells, each has half of that. 23 chromosomes in the egg, the female cell, and 23 chromosomes in the sperm, the male cell. This is very important. Why? Because in making a baby monkey, for example, I need half the number of chromosomes from the mother, half the number of chromosomes from the father. So in the baby, I will end up with the same number of chromosomes that I need. 23 chromosomes من الأب في الإنسان, 23 chromosomes من الأم في الإنسان. Together, they're going to give me a cell with 46 chromosomes, a baby with 46 chromosomes, which is just perfect. This is why what Mendel said was brilliant and ahead of its time. Mendel said that half of the cell is actually from the father and half of the cell is actually from the mother. And that was right, because the male cell gives 50% of the parts of the cell and the female cell gives also 50%. نصف عدد الكروموسومات. So what is a gene? A gene is a piece of the chromosome which is responsible for controlling a trait. So the location of genes is chromosomes. And this answers the first question in our lesson in the introduction. Okay? Now, in your book, you will find the stages of meiosis, الانقسام المنصف. I need full attention here. In the first footage, in the first picture, numbered 1, you can see a cell with how many chromosomes? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember, الأكس عبارة عن كروموسوم عامل نسخة من نفسه. يعني ما بقدر أعد الأكس كروموسومين. لا، الأكس هو كروموسوم واحد. تمام؟ لأنه أنا بتذكر أنه الأكس عبارة عن كروموسوم متضاعف. فهو كروموسوم. So we have 4 chromosomes here. Now, in stage number 1, the chromosomes appear. يختفي ال DNA. مش يختفي يعني يتبخر. ببطل أشوف DNA. I will see separate chromosomes. But each pair of chromosomes are located together. In step 2, these chromosomes will line in the middle of the cell but as pairs. على شكل أزواج. So each pair of chromosomes stays with the other homologous chromosome. In stage 3, as you can see, these homologous chromosomes will start splitting. They will start moving away from each other and the cell is stretching. Now in step 4, as you can see, in step 4, you have actually 2 cells now, and each one of those cells has 2 chromosomes. But make notice, each one of these chromosomes is still doubled. Now, do I need copies of chromosomes? هل أنا محتاجة لكروموسوماتي عاملة نسخة من نفسها؟ لا طبعا. إذا الهدف هلأ أفصل كل نسخة من الكروموسوم عن النسخة الأخرى. So I need to make one more cell division. أنا محتاجة لعمل انقسام جديد. In step 5, we have the 2 cells separated from each other, انفصلوا تماما. In step 6, these chromosomes will line in the middle of the cell, preparing to divide one more time. So in step 7, they will move away from each other. لاحظ كيف كل كروماتيد انفصل عن الآخر. So in the end, in the first cell here, this cell is about to divide into 2, and this cell is about to divide into 2. So how many cells do I have altogether? I have 4 cells. And in each of those cells, I have how many chromosomes? 2 chromosomes in each cell. So I began the cell division with 1 cell that has 4 chromosomes, and I ended up with 4 cells. Each one of them has only 2 chromosomes. So what happens in meiosis? All in all, بالمختصر, 1 cell is divided twice, تنقسم مرتين. The result is 4 cells, but these 4 cells, each one of them has half the number of the original chromosomes. So when we start with 4 chromosomes, we end up with 4 cells. Each one of them has only 2 chromosomes. And this is the end of meiosis. Thank you.